The G20 leaders attending the summit in Brazil released G20 Rio de Janeiro leaders' declaration outlining their concerns over major global challenges and crises. Besides, leaders also talked about steps for social inclusion and the fight against hunger and poverty. As per the leaders' declaration, the leaders underscore the G20 commitment to the importance of food security and nutrition and of the progressive realization of the right to adequate food as reaffirmed through the Deccan High-Level Principles. The G20 group also launched the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. The leaders called for speedy implementation of the G20 2023 Action Plan on accelerating progress on the SDGs. The leaders expressed deep concern over humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip and the escalation in Lebanon. While talking about the war in Ukraine, the leaders highlighted human suffering and negative added impacts of the war with regard to global food and energy security, supply chains, macro financial stability, inflation and growth. They condemned terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. The leaders also recommitted themselves to advancing the goal of a world free of nuclear weapons and a safer place for all, and will uphold obligations in this regard. Right, joining me from Rio is my colleague Gautam Roy. Gautam, walk us through the main highlights or takeaways, or what stood out for you in that declaration.
Well, Ramesh, in the context of how it was being talked about, that the declaration had been a tough one to negotiate, it's worked out very well. And what stood out for me is also how it connects with what happened in New Delhi. New Delhi declaration and all that transpired in Delhi, whether it's about the issue of resolving conflicts or taking action where climate change is concerned. There's a continuity there as well. So that is something that really stands out, and how consensus has been forged on even fractious issues such as taxing high net worth individuals, where it's not been specified that this should be done immediately, but a gradual progression should be made in that direction. Also, a lot of issues that India, Brazil, and South Africa, the Troika, have been flagging in terms of how there's a debt burden that is unsustainable for several countries. That should also be looked at, and they've said that the leadership will be encouraging institutions like the IMF and the World Bank to move in that direction, so that those countries which can service their debt in a certain manner, they get some easier terms to do that. On the climate front, there will be a task force that will bring the true shaper and the financial tracks together to ensure that that is something that will be tracked and moved towards the kind of finance that has been called for, from moving from $100 billion a year to $1 trillion a year. In Delhi, it was said that there should be trillions and trillions of dollars that should be mobilized to ensure that there is climate action and climate justice. And that is something that, again, has been agreed to. Even in terms of institutional reform of global governance, that is also something that is quite, it's standing out really in terms of how everybody has come on board to say that this is something that is really required. It's a need there.
And before we let you go, Gautam, do talk to us a bit, if you will, about the Prime Minister's interventions on day one of the summit.
Yes, Ramesh, they were quite telltale in terms of how India itself has been taking action through the last 10 years to eliminate hunger and poverty. Poverty elimination has been a major thrust of a wide range of programs that the Modi government in its previous two iterations and even the present iteration. Remember, in this third term itself, the health emissions health insurance scheme that was launched was expanded to include all the elderly. So 60 million people added to 550 million beneficiaries already. Apart from the fact how action was taken during COVID times to give free food rate to 550 million people. And that is why a standout figure is of $250 million that people have been brought out of poverty in India over the course of the last 9 years. So that is something that the Prime Minister highlighted, along with so many other schemes that have been declared from time to time by his government through the course of the last, since 2014, since he came to power. And that is something that is leading to a lot of change in some of this they can be adopted as well. And he spoke about women, he spoke about farmers, all schemes for children as well, midday meal schemes and others. And he said that these are incremental steps and these all come together to have that effect of alleviating poverty. And he said there is, of course, conflict which is still coming in the way because that upsets the apple cart, fertilizer, food, and other needs are concerned for all the global south. So he highlighted the needs of the global south as well, where a critical amount of attention is required to ensure that everybody moves along because there are different levels of hunger and poverty in different parts of the world, apart from the fact that conflicts are leading to a lot of displacement. That adds another dimension to this problem.
Well, I will leave with that. Gautam, thank you. Gautam Roy reporting there from the G20 summit in Rio.